Hi everyone. We're getting ready for our Camping 101, so I'm just going to give everyone a few moments to join our class. Hi everyone. So we're just getting ready for our Camping 101 class, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys about Camping 101, which is a great introduction to Backpacking 101, which is going to happen next week. So, like always, I love having you guys help me out and giving your tips as I go, because this is a community effort. And so, hi everyone. So I'm actually sitting kind of in a different position today because I'm going to show you a bunch of different things and bring them up to the camera. And I'm also working on my eyesight, and I haven't been wearing my contacts or glasses. So just be aware that I will come up to the camera to look at your messages. Hi everyone. So I'm going to give everyone just a minute or two to join us. Why don't you let me know where you're joining from, and what you're going to be drinking while we're doing our Camping 101. I'm just going to stick to water because I'm going to do yoga after the class. So I'm here. I'm joining in from Orange County, California. I actually had not been an outdoorsy girl until I started hiking back in 2014, when I was going through a really difficult time in my life. And being outside really transformed my life. But I wanted to take it to that next step once I started camping. Once I started hiking, I wanted to go camping and I wanted to backpack. So today's class, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let's see, you guys are joining in we have some people from Ohio, Huntington Beach, Pittsburgh, Lake Isabella, and Thomas is having some vodka and lime juice. Hey, I don't blame you. Sounds kind of yummy. Hi there. So, okay, it's 5:02, and I normally like to begin this class around this time. So we're gonna start with we've had a lot of classes that have led up until this point. So by now you should know about the 10 essentials. You should know how to plan trips. You should have been out hiking, right? And so what we're going to talk about today is, once you have committed to being outdoors, we have someone drinking margaritas, someone joining from Ontario. Awesome. Nice to connect with you all. So as I was saying, once you've started hiking and you're ready to take that next step, sometimes it's, let me go camp. Sometimes it's, I want to start backpacking. So once you know that you're ready for that next level or for that next step, you need to get your gear in place. So what we're going to talk about today is gear. I'm going to give you some tips. And then just how to get comfortable being outside, and whatever questions you have. So hi everyone, nice to see you. So what I want to start with is something that I like to use before when I started committing to backpacking and camping, was having a checklist. So if you go on our website, or you can go to rei.com, they have a backpacking checklist, and I like printing this out for both, whether I'm backpacking or camping, and then I've laminated it so that every time I go get ready and prep for my trip, I have this that I can use one of those markers that are erasable, and then kind of go through and make sure that I don't forget things. And also, one of the biggest things that I found helpful was, when I started backpacking and camping, I actually recognized that I would forget things. And so I started writing my own list of items that I have to bring for myself on my trips. So things would include glasses and things of that sort. So I'll just keep looking at your comments as we're going. Yeah, laminated so that you can reuse it and I don't have to print it all the time. So, the first step is to, plan a trip. Just go camp somewhere, and I would go camp at a location that is open for camping. For example, I'll give you an example. In Idlewild, there are campgrounds that are run by the parks. I believe it's the Forest Service out there. And so they have tons of open spaces, and you pull up and you park your car. Once you pick your campsite, you pay your fee, and then you have your space. And usually your space has a space for your tent, your car, and usually a table. So it's really great to just get started when you just want to see how you're going to do outside. How do you feel sleeping in a tent? Those are the first steps before you go backpack, because the last thing you want to do is go backpack and you're really not prepared. And so the best way to get prepared is to start by camping. So do I provide your paper for an example? So on our website, if you go to 52hikechallenge.com and you go to store, there's a backpacking checklist and you'll see more information. You can print that, or you can go onto REI's website, which I believe we linked on there, and you can get the list of items you need. So let's get started on once you have picked out your location for your, where you're gonna go camping, you can go on recreation, I believe it's .gov, and you can find different campsites around the US. You can reserve them before you get there. Sometimes there's walk-up sites. You have to do your research. So I would start off by asking your friends that are local to you that love the outdoors. Go to your local REI, for example, and ask, hey, what are some great camping locations near me? Here in Orange County, there's Casper's Wilderness Park. I believe there's also Santiago Oaks has some campsites available. And so just going local to home, because worst case scenario, let's say you get out there and you hate it, you can go home, right? And so this is always you don't want to go from, phase 0 to phase 20 or 100. So this is a great way to get started easily. And obviously you guys should totally add your comments with different websites used to book your campsites. I'd be happy to share more information as we go. And California Fun 12, you are so welcome. And Josh Schomburg says Campendemium, I don't know how to say that, sorry guys, app is a good resource, so check that out. It's Campendemium, I guess. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of other resources. I know that sometimes there's even campsites on Airbnb, and I mean, there's other ones out there. So I would say recommend start close to home. Once you've got your campsite secured, then you can get started with your gear. So I'm gonna move over to that side for a little bit by my couch, and I'm gonna show you some things, and then I'll come up close and you guys give your tips as I'm going back there. I'm gonna show you some of the things that you wanna start off with. So first you're gonna wanna start off with your tent. So obviously tents can vary in prices. And so if you're just getting started, before you go backpacking, you may want to borrow a tent from a friend, okay? I highly recommend that, or renting a tent. You can rent a tent from REI. So this is a 2-person tent. What I want to say about, let me come up close. So what I want to say is that as you start backpacking, you're actually going to want to minimize your weight. So a regular camping tent is usually not what you're going to bring when you go backpacking. But the reason why I say to rent it first or borrow it is, remember, you want to understand, do I even like camping, right? And so that way you don't have to spend all this money right off the bat. And I'm sure your friends out there have a tent that you could borrow. And then the next thing is, once you get your tent, practice at home before you go out to the campground to make sure you know not only how to set it up, but that you have all of the pieces. The last thing you want to do is get out to your campsite and not have everything you need, and definitely not even know how to put it up. So it's usually really easy. Like for example, this is the REI quarter dome tent, and this one actually has the instructions like right here. So if you need help, you can definitely, read the instructions, but I recommend starting by trying it at home. And that is part 1, get your tent. Part 2 is, if you're gonna wanna go backpacking, recognize that you're gonna want to go with a lightweight tent. So up to you if you wanna buy a tent right away or not. And then you need to understand what size of a tent you need, because if you have a family, your partner, or are you gonna be by yourself, that's gonna highly, be important as you're picking out your tent. So I'm gonna read your comments. Let's see what you've got so far. So it looks like we have some comments. Thomas says, practicing is a great tip. Balaam Hiking Adventure says she or he, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're a she or a he right now, but love the REI Half Dome 2+, so easy to put together and set up, needed extra stakes for the rain fly. Yeah, and you know, that's what I do like about these tents from REI. They're super easy, like they snap together. It's like super simple to work with. I will try, let's see if it's easy. No, it's not like that. I don't have it readily available, but it's super easy to work with. And like I said, so step one, grab your tent. I'm gonna go grab some more things to talk to you guys about. So once you have your tent, you're gonna want to grab your, this is a mat, okay? This is a mat that you will put on top of, once your tent is out, you're gonna want your mat so that this gives you kind of like a little bit of cushion to put your sleeping bag over. So this is a Thermarest. There's so many different types of mats, and also it depends. This is one type of a mat you can bring on. This is more of a through hiker, someone who wants to go super lightweight, because this is something that you will acquire and keep for your backpacking trips. This is, like I said, a great starting point. And if it's really cold, you're gonna want two. I'm gonna show you the second phase of what you're gonna want. But this is, you're gonna want a sleeping pad. You can use this as your pad as well. But if you are able to car camp, and when you first start out, I would recommend having both this pad and then your actual sleeping pad. So let me go grab that and show it to you guys. This will give you extra insulation when it's really cold. So really great item to acquire. So let me show you, I have them in the bags just because they're so big, but this is a really comfortable sleeping pad. I'm going to come up close. It's quite a larger sleeping pad. This is great for camping, not for backpacking. This is way too big for backpacking. And what I will actually do is I'm gonna show you for comparison purposes the big difference in this. This is a Camp Bed 2.5 self-inflating sleeping pad by REI. Absolutely love this. It is so comfortable. It's like sleeping in an actual bed. Now, obviously, if you want to go super glam and go out camp and bring one of those inflatable beds, go for it. But for me, this is really nice, and I basically just pop it open and it self-inflates, and it's super, has a lot of cushion. It's really comfortable. So you're gonna want a nice pad like that, especially if you want to be comfortable when camping. Let me show you guys. I'm going to go grab something. I wasn't expecting to show it to you guys. I want to show you a sleeping pad that you use for backpacking. So just 1 second while I go grab that. Right here. This is a backpacking sleeping pad. Check out the difference. I'm going to go back here and show you guys. Look at that. This weighs like nothing. So we'll talk more about sleeping pads next chat on Backpacking 101, but I just wanted to show you that you could also go for something really small like this and get ready for your backpacking trips. So let's see what you have to say so far. Okay. So Nessie says, practice in your backyard. Absolutely, perfect. California Fun 12, do I host trips or hikes? Yes, we do host hikes, but right now with coronavirus, we are not hosting hikes. I don't know when we will again. So the best way to stay on top of that is to go to our website, 52hikechallenge.com, and to go to our events tab and also sign up for our newsletter. So if you go to our website, there's a newsletter form right on the bottom of the page. So let's see what else you guys have to say. So far, we don't have anything else. So, okay, so we've talked about the sleeping pad. We've talked about, you know, having another type of a foam pad underneath that. You can choose what you want to go with. So now that you've got that, you need the next really big and important thing, and that is your sleeping bag. So let me grab that. This is the sleeping bag inside of the bag right now that holds it. You guys know what a sleeping bag looks like, so I don't need to necessarily take it out. But what I want to say about the sleeping bag is that you're going to want to make sure that before you get your sleeping bag that you understand the temperature that you need, okay? So depending on how cold it's going to be at night, you're going to want to grab your sleeping bag. I would say like 10 to 15 degrees warmer, even 20 or more. It just depends on how often you're going to be in your sleeping bag and when you're planning to use it. Because for example, when I did the John Muir Trail, it was so cold at night that my like so-called I think it was 15-degree bag. Some days I was actually really cold in that. And so there's a few ways to help with that. And that's one thing you could do is you could buy a liner, which will increase the heat by, I believe, like 5-ish degrees. And that was one option, obviously putting on all your layers. But you also, you need to be, in your planning, you need to understand what the weather is going to be and when you're going to be backpacking or camping. So I would say like a 25-degree weather sleeping bag, somewhere around there is like a good starting point. I don't have the sleeping bag, like the different temperature ratings on me right now, but I'd be happy to see if anyone else has their tips on that here, any of our participants. So yeah, I mean, feel free to ask any questions you have as we go, and I will do my best to respond back. You know what I forgot today was I didn't bring my computer down here so that I could look up information as we go, but that's okay. So let's move on because I want to get through. We have so many different things to get through. Let me bring my checklist back. So that's your sleeping system, and that's kind of like the most important thing. So Balam Hiking Adventures, what about a mummy bag or quilt? How do those compare to a sleeping bag? Yeah, I mean, a mummy bag is essentially the same thing. It's a sleeping bag, so to speak. It's just you're tighter versus like the traditional sleeping bags, which are square. So the mummy bags, I highly recommend when you want to do more backpacking because they tend to be more condensed. And you remember, whatever you leave open is going to allow for cold weather, the cold to come in. So that's why the mummy bags are great. So I personally recommend mummy bags. If you're camping with your family, a traditional sleeping bag is great because you can put them together and like make one really big sleeping bag. So I know that that's really fun, especially for couples. And regarding the quilts, I actually have never used a quilt myself, but I have friends who have and love them, swear by them. So you should definitely go to your local REI and see what they offer and try them out, test them out. And that's the great thing about REI, who is our sponsor. They actually have a 1-year return policy. So you can go out and try it out and see if you like it. And that's the only way to figure out if you prefer a sleeping bag or not. But I know some people really do not enjoy being stuck into their sleeping bags. So, and then Thomas wants to know, is any recommendations on solar panels? Yeah, we can talk about that in a little bit. So I think the main brand is, I forget their name right now. They're pretty good. I use them. It's slipping my mind right now, so I'll have to like look them up. So I apologize, I don't have that on me right now. So, okay, so first thing we talked about now was your sleeping system. And now that you have your sleeping system, you're gonna wanna move on and have your basics, right? Like we've got, you know, our basics. We're gonna want to have our headlamp or flashlight, super important. You are going to want to have, I love these. So talking about, you know, the solar panels and stuff, this Lucy lantern has a rechargeable lantern that you can bring, and at night you just, you know, you inflate it. I'm not gonna inflate it right now, but basically this pops up and you can turn it on and use this for lighting. Okay, so it's not currently charged. But the cool thing about this Lucy lantern is that this one not only has a charger panel that you can charge out when the sun is out, but it also allows you to charge your phone, and you can charge this one at home as well. So this is great for camping. Long backpacking trips, I wouldn't personally bring this one. I did bring this on the John Muir Trail because after like 3 or 4 days, it tends to die out. And so when I was on there for like 7 days at a time, it just wasn't charging with the sunlight alone at that point, just because I had used up all the battery and stuff. So their other ones, which I have as well, are really great. They don't need as much battery. Those charge really well out in the sun. So I highly recommend these Lucy lanterns. I'm trying to still think about the company that does the panels right now. So I'll keep, if anyone has a good recommendation for solar panels, please add it to the comments below. So these are great, these Lucy lanterns. Like I said, this one is like a super ultra luxe nice one, but they have these basic ones. Let me go grab it for you so I could show it to you. Here is an example of the one that works really well, where you can charge it out in the day, and you could see it's like much smaller. So that's why this is a great one. This one, like I said, is great for camping. This is great for backpacking. So you're gonna want your, make sure you have your lights, your headlamp, your flashlight. We didn't talk about one thing, but we can talk about it now. For your tent, to protect it from, moisture, etc., there are footprints you can purchase. I know people use tarps, so this is the one that goes with my tent. So you may want to bring that as well. You don't have to, but sometimes rocks and things of that sort can rip through the materials. So just a consideration. You're gonna definitely want to bring your pillow, so that's really important. And I'll show you a couple of other things that I haven't shown you yet. So this is my pillow that I bring with me on backpacks, camps, or camping. For camping, if you do car camping, which I highly recommend, you can also bring your regular pillow from your home, but this is a really tiny one, and it's super lightweight, and it does the job. So here's a liner. I just wanted to show you when your sleeping bag, when you need extra warmth, you can buy a liner like this. And it's essentially like a sleeping bag you put inside of your sleeping bag and you go inside of it. So just wanted to show you guys that. And let's talk about, obviously your clothing. You need to pack your own clothing, but we won't really talk about that today. But I do think it's important to talk about these items when you're camping. You definitely want to bring like a beanie or gloves, extra stuff besides your hiking, your hiking items, bringing long underwear, a puffy jacket, all of that sort of thing, because it can get really chilly at night up in the mountains. So be mindful of that, bringing your buff, and planning ahead, because you don't want to get out there and be like, oh my gosh, I'm way too cold, I didn't bring all these additional items. For sure, your sandals, I actually recently have gotten into Tevas because I could put my socks on if it's really cold, and they're great for like if I'm gonna cross a river or something, I can just put them on real quick. On the JMT, like I absolutely had to change out of my hiking boots many times and put on my Tevas to cross the river, etc. But for nighttime and being comfortable, you just want to make sure you have your sandals on you. And so we're going to talk a little bit about cooking shortly, but let me see what else I want to show you guys. So definitely want to have like a first aid kit with you, no matter what. That should always be in your hiking 101, in your backpack and stuff after hiking. But just having a kit with you for camping is also really smart. A whistle that has your, fire starter and everything like that. And then obviously you're gonna have to be aware of if you can create or have a fire at your campsite or not. Some locations allow it, some don't. We talked a little bit about that in Leave No Trace last week, and that video can be found on YouTube. And just being safe if you are building a fire, and making sure that it's allowed and that you have the proper permits. So I've seen some little comments here. So Mermaid Sonia said, Goal Zero Nomad Solar Charger. Yeah, Goal Zero. There we go. I knew someone would know it. I'm just like, couldn't remember off the top of my head. Goal Zero has great ones. And then there's one more company out there that does, they do a little bit of not so traditional, I don't remember their name right now. I'm forgetting their name. I'll have to look them up. How do I feel about arc lighters for fire starting? Are those long fire start? I mean, like those long items? Because I honestly don't know what that means. Like I said, I didn't bring my computer to look stuff up right now. And I'm also working on healing my eyesight. So it's just a little bit challenging for me to like see you guys. So sorry if I'm like a little bit off here. So I wanted to share with you guys that one thing that I like bringing when I camp is a nice towel. And this serves as a yoga mat, or if I get really cold, I have an extra like blanket. This is a really great towel from REI and I absolutely love it. And I'm so thankful I brought that with me on the John Muir Trail. But for camping, like I said, you know, it's just extra stuff that you can use to clean up and things of that sort. So, obviously don't forget your restroom bag and bringing extra toilet paper. I talked about this last week in class. You know, this is a trash bag. It's a biodegradable bag. And inside of my restroom bag, I have toilet paper because you never know, even if there are restroom facilities, they may not have toilet paper. And that's your trowel. This is a super lightweight trowel. So you definitely want to have that with you. And let's see. Okay, I'm just checking to make sure I'm staying up on top of it. And okay, let's talk a little bit about camp kitchen. And so this is the fun part, right? When you're camping, a part of the fun is your food. So it's really up to you, depending on what you want to do. There's times where I'll pack prepackaged like salads from, for example, Trader Joe's or sandwiches, and I will not cook. And then in the morning, I'll just have like a bar or something like that. So I'll just bring stuff that's pre-made. I put it in a cooler. And again, we're talking about car camping. So it's really easy, no problem. There's other times where I want to cook. So there's different ways of doing that. You can buy a full on out stove, which I have one. I didn't bring it with me, but I didn't bring it out here. It's a Coleman stove. It's this massive, like 2 tank, it has 2 sections for cooking. So that's one option, or you can just stick to your really simple jet boil. And again, because I'm trying to give you guys information so that you get ready for backpacking, this is a great one to start with. All you do is heat water in here and then you use other containers to eat your food. So for example, in this little bowl, I would put my oatmeal in the mornings or coffee, which I'll show you guys what I do as well. I use something like this little tiny, you know, plastic cup, and I use this for my coffee or whatever I'm having, tea. And then if I'm going to make things like ramen, you know, I bring, one of those Mountain House bags and I'll just put the ramen in there and I clean out the Mountain House bag and reuse it. And that way, you know, we're creating less waste. But it really depends. You can also do, you know, MRE. Those are the like foods that come in the bags like Mountain House, or you can, like I said, get super creative. I have friends, Dirty Gourmet. They have a cooking book for people who like to camp outdoors, and they have all kinds of great ideas. So one time when I was, you know, I was ill. I was cooking a lot of things out in the backcountry when I was backpacking. So I was cooking things like quinoa and putting in some salmon and things of that sort. So feel free to add any comments of your favorite camping foods. Obviously for breakfast, making eggs with bacon and getting super creative is part of the fun of being outside and cooking out. So let's see. Balam Hiking says, love the Jetboil Micro Mo. Has a pot so you can cook smaller meals on a pan. Yeah, there's so many different options. And Thomas, so that's really sweet. Thank you, Thomas. So let's talk a little bit more about like different things when it comes to cooking. So you're gonna need to have your spoon, and this is a cool one from Mountain House, who was a sponsor of ours back like 2 years ago. And this has, you know, the fork and the spoon, but you can also get creative, right? And bring something like this. This is like a cool old school like dining set that has like a spoon, and it has, you know, a fork, and it has your knife. So it's up to you, but don't forget even can opener. But it's up to you, you know, you can get really creative with what you bring out there, especially when you're car camping. You don't need to, you know, minimize when you're camping. And depending on where you are, you know, you may want a water filter. Again, Sawyer was one of our sponsors, so this is one of their filters that I have in this bag. So if you're gonna filter water, don't forget to bring your filter. I brought out some other cool things like s'mores, obviously. So these are your, you know, these are great for if you're gonna have s'mores at night and you're gonna have a campfire. Water bottle, don't forget your water, super important. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the basics of getting out and camping. You know, it's finding your location, having your gear ready, and then just going out and trying it out, because you don't know what you don't know. And the only way to figure out if you're going to even want to take the next step into backpacking is to just try camping first and see if it's something that you enjoy, so that you don't put yourself in a situation that, you know, you've hiked all the way in, you've bought all this expensive gear, and then you realize, you know, backpacking is really not for you, or maybe you don't like sleeping out in the wilderness. So those are kind of like the most important things. You know, obviously bring your snacks, bring your water, bring the clothing you need. You're definitely going to want to bring your personal hygiene items. Only you're gonna know what that is for you. You know, of course, you're gonna want your 10 essentials, especially if you're gonna take advantage of your trip and go hiking. You know, also a great thing to remember is, depending on the weather, look at what kind of insects are out there. And don't forget to bring your insect repellent, depending on what time and where you're hiking. So I'm gonna have a drink of water. So, you know, other things, you know, definitely want to bring your repair kit, tools, duct tape, etc. I do want to say that on the John Muir Trail, believe it or not, my friend's tent pole actually snapped. And trust me, you want to know what to do if your tent pole snaps. So she had this little extra piece that came with the pole, and I didn't even know what to do with that myself. So we figured it out. She knew what to do right away, but I didn't know that. And I'm like, I've been backpacking for years. So be aware and be knowledgeable of how to, you know, use all the parts. That's why I said earlier, like, learn how to use your, and set up your tent. So, you know, and you're only going to learn when you get out there. Like, that's really the only way. So like I said, you know, as you get out there, write down a list of items that you need specifically. And you definitely want to, you know, leave your itinerary with a friend. Let someone know where you're going, when they can expect you back. Those are just some basic rules. We've talked about that in all of the classes. You can find almost every class on YouTube from the past like courses we've done now. I think this is going on course number 7 since coronavirus. And then here are just some like additional little side notes, you know, like if you want, pack a little day pack that's, you know, that's packable. Put that in your backpack or put that in your car, so that if you want to go for a small hike, you have an easy small pack. If you want to bring your camera, if you want to bring a field guide or a book, you know, a journal or a pen and pad for sketching. Maybe you want to learn more about the stars. Bring a star chart, you know, a book, games, card games, binoculars, two-way radios, and then obviously don't forget your other important items like your car keys. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for you guys to add any other tips. So, hi, Caesar. So any other questions regarding camping before we go ahead and let you guys get on with your lovely Wednesday. And I will be teaching this class again tomorrow on Facebook Live, because I do think that there's a lot of people out there that don't even, know where to start. And so I thought this would be a good class to have on both channels. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into more details and smaller, lighter weight items as you get to Backpacking 101, which will be next week. And I think Balam Hiking Adventures is a guy. I'm so sorry earlier. I wasn't sure who I was talking to. So when I first started hiking or camping, the hardest part for me, I think was, like the hygiene is always like the thing that I would struggle with. But what I'll tell you that I found was I ended up doing like Bonner's soap. And if you have camp water, you can buy those really cool jugs that are like, they're collapsible. And then you just wash your hands every so often. So that actually really helped a lot. And baby wipes. Oh my gosh, baby wipes make the biggest difference in feeling clean after a long day out on a hike. So I think it was more of that, and kind of like going, if there was no like restroom, then it was like, where do I go restroom, right? I think those are just some basic fears people have. And I don't know about you guys, but as a girl or woman, it was definitely a huge concern at first. But once you figure out, it's like, there's nothing to it. It's you become more comfortable with it. And another thing, like there's been times where I bring, earplugs, because depending on the campsite or campground, there might be tons of people and making noise and stuff like that. So depending on where you are, there's also BLM land, and BLM land is free to camp at. And you can kind of disperse, look it up if you don't know about it, but there's tons of places you can just pull up and camp. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of getting started and getting used to it. And once I started camping, I really fell in love with it. Like, I love being able to just set up a tent, make fun foods, and then the stars at night are just incredible, So, Gordon, hi Gordon. So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it, you guys. I hope that was helpful to give you some tips on just getting started camping. And thank you for being patient with me as I am doing all this for you guys. So Thomas wants to know if I ever worry about security safety while sleeping. Personally, no. And I'll tell you why. I trust that I'm always safe. And I don't let those kinds of negative fears, I wouldn't say negative, I apologize. I wouldn't let, it's more of the feelings of negativity to come through, I think it's normal to have fear, but I just don't allow it to take a hold of me. And I just trust that I'm safe. And you guys will notice this in a lot of my talks. A lot of the things I write, it's about the power of the mind, which is why I'm working on my vision. I'm actually trying to cure my vision naturally by the power of the brain, because everything in life is really the mind and training the mind. And that's why I believe so much in meditation and hiking, because when you're out on the trails, you can train your brain to go from negative to positive. And really, it's very easy to become fearful in life, but it takes a lot to learn how to manage yourself and your emotions, and to stop when you hear that negative thinking and the false beliefs, and to trust that you are safe, to trust that you are divinely protected. And that's just a part of my journey here, and why I believe so much in hiking, because I do believe that when I'm out there, I'm safe, and that I did everything in my power to ensure that I don't have anything go wrong, right? And you don't know that in the elements, but I do want to believe that when it's our time, it's our time. And that if we want to have an adventurous life, sometimes, you have to face these fears. So trust is a big part of it, is just going, I may have a fear, but most of the times the things we fear don't even come to fruition. So walking in faith is really important. So thank you for the question. You're so welcome. Yeah, when I was on the John Muir Trail, we had a bear come up to our camp, and I just knew that I knew what to do in that encounter. And I also trusted that hikers are inherently good and that, you know, I know what to do in case of an emergency, and that really just trusting again, you know, that everything would be okay. So all right, you guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. And I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday evening, and that you guys are taking care of yourselves, your emotional health, your mental well-being, your physical health. These are some really challenging times we've all been going through. I want to actually say thank you so much for everyone that has supported us in some way, shape, or form. The last time I checked today, we had about 16 shirts left. We are raising funds for 52 Hike Challenge because coronavirus really did affect us and our sponsors and how we fund the program. And so I just want to thank you guys all from the bottom of my heart. If you found this helpful, feel free to Venmo. The information is in all of the little posters we shared. You can send us via PayPal or just support us by buying something on the store. It really helps us to keep the team going, and we appreciate you guys. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and you are so welcome, you guys. As always, it is my pleasure. And again, if you want more information, keep an eye out on the newsletter because we are doing our Backpacking 101 course next week. And tomorrow, this class is back on Facebook Live. So feel free to share with your friends. And tomorrow, I'll have my computer so that I can look up some of those questions as they came up. You're welcome. Have a good night, you guys. You're welcome. Bye.